Eleonora.
Let's go.
Hi, little baby.
Hello everyone, my name is Lily and I'll be your safari guide today. Just a couple safety reminders before we head on out there. Please remain seated for the entirety of our time together. That's my #1 rule. If you have a little one sitting in your lap, then let them remain fully seated and solely in your lap for the entire time. Don't pass them off with playing musical chairs among the adults. Now up above your head is a safari spotting guide. That can help you identify some of the animals that we might be seeing today. You probably won't see all of them, but we usually do have some great luck. Now of course when we see the animals, let's not reach out and try and touch them. Don't whistle at them or make any kissy noises. Anything like that. They are wild animals and we're entering into their home, so we want to be super respectful. Speaking of which, we are now entering into the Little Ituri Forest. In the Little Ituri Forest, animals like to use camouflage to hide in the plants on either side, so we're gonna have to keep our eyes wide open.
Your eyes wide open.
Little baby.
Let me see how you keep your eyes wide open.
Is that fun?
On the right-hand side, up at the very top of the hill in the far right-hand corner, there's an okapi.
Wow.
Has zebra-like hind legs, but do not be fooled. It's actually most closely related to the giraffe. We know this because it has the same long prehensile tongue, meaning it uses its tongue to grab its food. It also has the same skull structure as the giraffe.
It's like a deer, giraffe, anteater kind of mixed.
One last view of the okapi on the right-hand side, just as we round the corner.
We've got a little bit left over here. Let's just put it all together.
Watering hole. You know, that could be a pretty great place to spot some animals. Everyone does need a drink of water every now and then. Let's see if we can spot anyone today. On the right-hand side, halfway up the hill, the black and white bird is a saddlebill stork. They can get up to 5 feet tall and have a wingspan of about 8 to 9 feet across. Now they're normally pretty solitary, liking to be on their own, but if you see two together, which we do here, then that means that they are a mated pair, and they'll mate for life.
Whoa. Is that fun? Whoa.
I don't know why, but I think it's so like sweet that certain animals do that.
Coming up on the left-hand side
they're
as
like
we round the
wild
corner, up on the hill are some greater kudu. They're the lighter color antelope. They are the tallest of the antelopes. Now it's easy to tell males and females apart because males have horns and females don't. Way in the back in the plants, looks like there's some bongos. They're known as the ghost of the forest. They have horns that slope backwards to help them go through the underbrush without getting tangled up. Both male and female bongos have those horns.
Did you see those? Did you see those?
We are leaving the Little Ituri Forest and we're heading towards the Safi River region. In the Safi River, animals are aquatic, which means they spend most of their time in the water. So we're going to have to look under the water for any dark shapes, ripples, or bubbles. That might mean that there's an animal there. On the right-hand side, up at the very top of the water, there are some Nile hippos. Nile hippos spend the vast majority of their time in the water. They can be fully submerged for up to 8 minutes at a time. Even when they're sleeping, they'll be submerged, and then they'll just float up to the top, take a breath of air, and sink back down, all without waking up, completely by muscle memory. Another view of the Nile hippos on the left-hand side, just behind the island.
More hippos.
On the island, the gray and white birds are pink-backed pelicans. Now you may be saying, why are you calling them pink if they're gray and white? That's because on their back is a little spot of pink that gets a bit more vibrant towards the mating season. They are colonial nesters, so they'll nest in pairs of 2, all the way up to 500. But they do prefer these quiet backwaters to find their food. Another view of the Nile hippos on the left-hand side. Nile hippos do spend most of their time in the water, but at night's usually when they'll get out and roam the shores in order to find some food.
We saw the hippos in a tank earlier.
Here?
In front of us, there's a rickety-looking bridge. Let's make sure everyone remains fully seated while we go over the bridge. But while you're seated, turn your head to the left, and you'll see some Nile crocodiles. Nile crocodiles can reach up to 16 feet in length and weigh up to 500 pounds. They only tend to eat about once a week, but in a single feeding, they can eat up to half of their body weight. That's 250 pounds. Their jaws are strong enough to crush bone, but they're also gentle enough to roll their eggs. In fact, once their young are hatched, they'll often keep them in their mouths. just to make sure they're safe from any nearby threats. Alright, we are leaving the Sabi River region and we're heading towards my favorite area. That's the savannah. I know we're heading towards the savannah because the vegetation on either side of us is beginning to thin out just a bit. Oh, here's another short side of the savannah. On the right hand side as we round the corner, there's a baobab tree. It may look like an upside down tree, but it's just leafless for 9 months out of the year. Its spongy bark holds water in it, and during the dry seasons, animals will get into the bark for the water. That's why it's often called the tree of life. On the left-hand side, as we round the corner, you'll get your first view of the savannah. You may notice the grass is trimmed pretty short out there. That's the work of grazing animals like zebras and antelopes. And the trees are trimmed pretty high up. That is the work of giraffes. They say that you can tell how tall the tallest giraffe is by how high up the trees are trimmed. Coming up on the right-hand side, a great view of some Ankole cattle. Ankole cattle are also known as Watusi cattle, after the Watusi tribe that first domesticated them. They are the only domesticated animal that's on the reserve.
Cody, the guy that taught me, he has one.
They said they're hollow. They're really light.
Yeah, they're very light. The guy that showed me about livestock and everything, he taught me. He has one.
On the left-hand side, just up on the den, right on top, there are some African wild dogs. African wild dogs are also known as painted dogs because of the spotted pattern on their coats. They live in packs led by an alpha male and alpha female. That's the primary breeding pair of the pack. They may look pretty cute and cuddly, but don't be fooled. They're actually some of the most successful predators on the savannah, known for chasing their prey down until the prey literally drops from exhaustion. Crossing over from the right to the left-hand side, another view of the Ankole cattle. They've got those super huge horns. Within their horns is a honeycomb structure that's full of blood vessels. That helps them to remain cool during the hotter seasons.
The horns have blood vessels.
Those are like the ant things, right?
You think that?
Another view actually on the right-hand side, just in the distance.
Like
Now those
termites or
horns
something?
look like they would weigh a ton, but since they've got that honeycomb structure in them, they actually weigh only about 15 pounds. Coming up on the right-hand side, just out on the grass at the bottom of the hill, there are some adorable little antelopes called springbok. Springbok only get to be about 2 to 3 feet tall. They do one of my favorite things called pronking, which is when they leap 6 feet up into the air and travel 13 feet forwards. As they do so, they make a U shape. That kind of reminds me of a house cat when it gets scared. But they don't pronk when they're scared, only when they're super happy. Also on the right-hand side, there's a herd of wildebeest. Wildebeest roam in herds that can get up to 1.5 million wildebeest, which may sound pretty chaotic, but they're actually fairly organized. At night, they'll lay in rows, facing in every direction. That way, if they spot a predator coming, they can hop up and start running in all directions without colliding into each other. On the left-hand side, there's a group or a tower of Maasai giraffes. I know they're Maasai giraffes because they have jagged, irregular spotted patterns. Giraffes are the tallest creatures on the savannah. They can get up to 15 feet tall. And they actually start off life at 6 feet tall. Since they give birth standing up, that's quite a drop when they're first born. But that drop actually helps them to take their first breath. Another view of the wildebeest on the right-hand side. They're pretty spread out, but don't worry, they are not going to get lost from their friends. Wildebeest have scent markers in their hooves. That way, if anyone does get separated from the rest of the herd, they can just smell their way back to everyone else. Oh, coming up on the left-hand side, looks like there's some elephants. Oh, wow. Elephants tend to roam in 2 separate herds. There's the female herd, comprised of the females and the babies until they're 15 years old, and then there are the males, who tend to be by themselves, or they'll be in a bachelor herd. Now, it looks like there's a juvenile elephant over there, so this is probably the female herd. on the left-hand side just as we round the corner. Oh, and also coming up on the left-hand side, there's a group, or a flamboyance, of flamingos. These are the greater flamingos. They're the largest of the flamingos and the lightest pink color. When they hatch, they're kind of a whitish, grayish color, and by eating shrimp that's high in beta-carotene, they'll reach that full light pink color. But it can take them up to 2 years to reach that full coloring. On the left-hand side, I see a mud pit. That can be a pretty good indication that there might be some animals around. Animals like elephants and rhinos like to lay in the mud pits. Not only does it help them cool off, but they can also coat their skin with the mud, and it acts as a natural form of sunblock. Coming up on the left-hand side as we round the corner, up on the hill, there's a cheetah walking around. Cheetahs are the fastest land animals. They can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. Even though they can get up to 60 miles per hour, they cannot maintain that speed for too long, only about the length of a football field. After that, they are completely exhausted. Well, that's why they tend to hunt during the day, because towards the night, after they've spent all that energy, sometimes larger predators will come along and take their prey from them. They just won't have the energy to fight them off. Oh, up in front of us is a Kopi Rock formation. Some of you may recognize Kopi Rocks from a little-known movie called The Lion King. His Kopi Rocks are a favorite hangout spot for lions.
There's a lion.
So we're gonna have to keep our eyes out. Oh, in fact, on the left-hand side, just up on the grass there,
you can see
there is
now.
a male lion just hanging out.
You see the lion?
Well, lions spend the vast majority of the day sleeping and resting. That's about 16 to 20 hours each day. They're mostly nocturnal, so really they become way more active towards nighttime. What a great view on the left-hand side. 2 female lions, or lioness, and a male lion.
See the lion?
One last view on the left-hand side of the lions on the rocks.
Oh, she wants to adopt a baby lion. Is that fun? Yeah. On the right-hand side, lying out in the dirt, there's a rare sight. That's a bontebok. At one point, there were only 17 bontebok left in the wild. Way in the back under the trees, there's a waterbuck. They're known for their shaggy coats and the white markings on their hindquarters. On the ground are some ostrich eggs. Those eggs are extremely strong. A full-grown adult human can stand on those eggs and not break them.
I'm much bigger than a full-grown adult.
Oh, mommy can stand on them then.
Mommy, imagine standing on something so fragile as an egg and not breaking it.
Imagine that. I would feel as light as air.
We are now entering into Magadi Glen. This marks the edge of the reserve and it's where the warden has their outpost. Well, passing through those gates does mean our time together is drawing to a close. We've seen a lot of animals and learned a lot of facts, but I want to leave you with a few more facts about animal conservation. Now you may be thinking, what can I do about animal conservation? There's actually a few very simple things you can do in your day-to-day life that make a big difference. One of the easiest things to do is to reduce your use of plastic. My favorite way to do this is to get a reusable water bottle. That way you can cut down on the plastic water bottles. You can also get a reusable bag to take with you when you go shopping. And of course you can reduce your use of plastic straws. You definitely don't have to go the paper straw route. There are plenty of other reusable options that work just as well. It does look like we're about to be heading back towards the main village of Harambe. There are plenty of things to do around Harambe if you haven't had a moment to check them out. I recommend the Gorilla Falls Walking Trail. That's where you can see some other animals that you might not have seen on your safari today.
That's where we went.
And of course there is a show in the main village. It's called the Festival of the Lion King.